Hello, I'm Rob Hornstra. I'm here at CFD Barcelona and I'm here for my exhibition, the Sochi Project, in which I collaborated with writer Arnold van Bruggen. The idea for the Sochi Project came up in 2007 when the Winter Games were awarded to Russia to show the world where these games actually take place. And that's the moment that we started thinking about the project and finally started in 2009 and worked there for 5 years. Well, within the Sochi project we decided not to talk so much about the photographer and the writer, although Arnold is the writer and I'm the photographer, but we consider ourselves both as the authors of the project. He's researching everything around an area, literature, films. He's reading 5 newspapers a day, blogs of course, which are very important as well. And I do a lot of visual research as well. What did other photographers do in the area I'm working, etc., etc. And besides that, we also had a long-term collaboration with the designers Cumming and Herman in Utrecht. I mean, we're totally equal and we're talking about it, and to be honest, we've been fighting a lot in the last 5 years during the Sochi project. That struggle is also necessary to make your work better. So that's for me really the benefit of collaborating. The Sochi project became a little bit known in early 2009 because we were the first doing crowdfunding, and crowdfunding was presented as the solution for financial problems in, let's say, documentary making or slow journalism. But I don't believe that's true. And we, for example, self-published our books and also sold them, and if we sold these books out, we earned some extra money for the project again, and we made rental exhibitions. We got money from all kind of different sources. It's also maybe a problem with us journalists that if we get money, and if you get a little bit more money than you expect, what are you going to do with the money? Invest it in your project instead of investing it in yourself. But it's always struggling, that's part of our job. I don't think there will be rich, independent photojournalists. We don't believe that you can simply copy a book to an online platform because an online platform simply works differently. What you see here in CFD as well is I always expect when people come in, they stay in an exhibition maximum 1.5 hours, but you cannot expect that people are reading 3,000 words on a wall while walking through an exhibition. So an exhibition, once again, is a totally different platform. And we try to pick out the best, let's say, the powerful tools of every platform to tell our story. News nowadays is not brought by newspapers and magazines anymore. It's brought online because online is always quicker than newspapers and magazines. But nowadays, everybody in the world can capture a news event. So in that sense, photojournalists are not so necessary anymore. But authors or people who try to focus on why things are happening in the world, they are extremely necessary. All the traditional media go to the non-traditional makers like us to get their stories for the newspapers and the magazines. And that's really a change. So we are deciding which stories are made, and finally they take our stories instead of the other way around, that they send a journalist to make the stories they want. We're totally independent from these traditional media. So if they want to collaborate with us, perfectly, but it's not necessary. Photojournalists, journalists, makers are currently living in a fantastic time because the difference with 20 years ago is that most of the journalists and photographers were paid by magazines and newspapers, and that means that they also have to adapt their stories to magazines and newspapers. Nowadays, the funding doesn't come from these traditional sources anymore. The funding comes from all directions, and that means that we have complete liberty again in making the stories and presenting the stories. All the liberty and all the freedom in whatever we do.